persecuted and disbanded, Masonry in this country evolved from underground Templarism. So it looks like the Templars had managed to carry on the message through Masonry. Anyway, I managed to decode the famous Rennes-le-Château parchments, and they all just, fitted like a hand in a glove. There was nothing to tweak, nothing like that whatsoever. It fitted absolutely perfectly like never before, and it actually did lead opposite the southeast corner of Lincoln Cathedral to an X marks the spot. Now, at this time, Rob, two amazing synchronicities had occurred. First of all, the British author who kick-started the whole interest in the Holy Blood and the Holy Grail, and who went on his quest to France, his surname is actually Lincoln. So that's a weird synchronicity.
Yes,
and secondly, whilst I was doing my research in the cathedral, who should arrive at Lincoln Cathedral to film scenes for the Da Vinci Code but Hollywood itself?
Wow.
Can you imagine how I felt when I was a recipient of the news that Hollywood is coming to film the Da Vinci Code in Lincoln Cathedral when I'm there at the time investigating a very real cathedral code?
Now, in the Da Vinci Code itself, what part of the movie is actually shot in Lincoln Cathedral?
I think it was in the chapter house, what we call a chapter house, and it was when they were trying to decode the cylinder.
Oh,
if you
right,
remember
yes.
the rose cylinder. That was shot in there. Quite an extensive scene. And I managed to meet producer Ron Howard and give him a copy of my own Lincoln Cathedral Code book at the time. That was quite exciting for me.
Now, this sounds more than just synchronicity to me. This sounds like more fate.
Well, quite honestly, the synchronicities, since I started pursuing this, Rob, I seem to have about 6 synchronicities before every breakfast.
Wow.
They are just so numerous that they are, in the DVD, there's most of them compacted in there as I unfold exactly what happened to me, authentically, But there's so much, it's absolutely unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And they still come now because my work is not totally concluded. I still pursue it. Even though I have a location, there's still much coming my way still.
Do you think this mystery will ever be solved?
Well, because I have an X marks the spot opposite the cathedral in Lincoln, and I've successfully decoded the Rennes-le-Château parchments, which nobody had ever done, I'm a likely candidate for perhaps being the one that does solve this. Now, I did approach Lincoln Cathedral because, obviously there's been a lot of interest and press about all my work. And I said, well, look, I've got a location. It's a crypt under the ground where a church once stood. The church was demolished in 1781, the very year that the last person we know who knew the secret of Rennes-le-Château, a lady called Marie Denegue in France, she died the very year that this church that has the crypt, which contains whatever I've discovered, that was destroyed in that same year. So I got in touch with the cathedral authorities and said, look, can I have a ground-penetrating radar scan on the exact marks of spot? I'm willing to pay for this myself. There'll be no structural damage. It's just a quick scan so that we can, see scientifically if there's anything there under the ground where I'm seeing there is. Now, I didn't have to do this. I wrote a couple of books explaining the mystery as perhaps I'm doing now. I did not have to take that risk and say, look, let's have a GPR scan and find out once and for all if there's something there, like I'm saying there is. I'll pay for it myself. Now, this was all in the press. The cathedral were quite happy with that. And then when it got nearer the date for the scan, they changed their mind and said, you can't have permission for the scan, and went ever so silent on me. Why?
Were they getting pressure from the Vatican?
I've no idea. I got in touch with the Archbishop of Canterbury in London to see if it could overturn their decision because they promised a scan and then reneged. But apparently, the Archbishop of Canterbury, who's the head of the church in England, can't overturn a decision made by a local cathedral even.
Hypothetically, if Mary Magdalene's body had been buried at that spot that you have marked with the X, and at the time when the church was demolished, isn't it possible that the body would have been moved to another place just in case somebody like yourself came along years later and started connecting the dots?
It seems she'd already moved, actually, because going back to the Rennes-le-Château mystery, people, Rennes-le-Château fanatics are looking for a tomb of Mary in France. They don't like the fact that I've, fetched the work and the conclusion over to England. But I do believe that Mary was for a time at Rennes-le-Château, was buried in a tomb over there, but is no longer there. She has been moved, courtesy of the Knights Templar, over here to Lincoln, England. I believe she was put in the church that is now no longer standing, in a crypt. The church was demolished when the lady in France who knew the secret also died. Now, whereas the church is demolished and there's no signs it ever existed, the crypt is still there under the ground. And all my clues, resulting from the Rennes-le-Château parchments, have led me to that exact spot.
What would happen, sir, and I don't mean any disrespect here, what would happen if you were to take your ground-penetrating radar, do your scan, and no body was there?
That has been said to me before. The possibility could be what you just asked of me a few moments ago, Rob, that maybe it has been moved again. If you read Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code, which I know is presented as fiction, but a lot of people have argued had a great element of fact in there.
Definitely, yes.
I think he'd mentioned it had been moved 3 or 4 times in the history. There is a possibility that when people get close to pursuing it, it could possibly be moved.
You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Dan, please stand by. It's a great pleasure and honor talking to you. Exo Nation, if you'd like to find out more about the film that we're talking about, it's entitled The Murder of Mary Magdalene, Genocide of the Holy Bloodline. www.reality-entertainment.com is one place you can find it. Or if you go to YouTube and type in Dan Green or The Murder of Mary Magdalene. My name's Rob McConnell. Dan Green and I will be back on the other side of this news break as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. We'll be back after the news. Don't go away. Considering calling a psychic to read your situation? Then consider David Champion, a psychic medium for more than 20 years with thousands of readings under his belt. David Champion will make you feel comfortable. He has proven to be honest and accurate. He's a straight shooter. There's no guesswork. What he sees is what you get. While he is a medium, most of the calls focus on relationships. Not only love, but work, school, neighbors, and more. Need help with finding a job and preparing for the interview? Are you dealing with people who are obstacles in your path? For more information, go to davidchampion.com, $1.50 per minute paid by credit card with a minimum of 30 minutes. For your reading with David Champion, call 1-877-702-8598. That's 1-877-702-8598. Now you can dial in to listen to the X Zone radio show from anywhere in the world with Rob McConnell 24/7, 365 by dialing 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080. If you have a mobile phone or landline, the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell is now at your beck and call at 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080, 24/7, 365.
Hi, this is Eric Rawls of Cosmoverse.com, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X Zone.
Hi, this is Blade Runner, and you are listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, I'm Laura Sabrin of Feast to Fields Organic Vineyard in Jordan, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, my name is Lady Ashley, the White Witch of Niagara-on-the-Lake, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal talk radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Welcome to The X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Another summer day has come and gone away from Paris and Rome, but I wanna go home. Maybe surrounded by a million people, I still feel all alone. Just wanna go home. Oh, I miss you. I've been keeping all the letters that I wrote to you, each one a line or two. I'm fine, baby, how are you? Well, I would send them, but I know that it's just not enough.
Dan Green is my very special guest this hour of the X Zone. We're talking about a new film exposing the concept that the Catholic Church was implicit in a holy genocide. The name of the film is The Murder of Mary Magdalene, Genocide of the Holy Bloodline. And you can find more out about this, let's see, I was going to say exciting, but it's not. It's very intriguing and a very thought-provoking film at www.reality-entertainment.com, where you can go to YouTube and put in the keywords Dan Green or The Murder of Mary Magdalene. You and I were talking off-air during the commercial break with the news, Dan, about the possibility of what actually might be down there and what people may be fearing you discover with this, with the deep scan radar or sonar reading that you want to do. Why do you think the church changed its mind? You must have an idea or a gut feeling.
It would be the biggest embarrassment ever if they went along with my request and then we discovered Mary Magdalene or documents rewriting biblical texts and such. They'd obviously wish they hadn't done that. So I think, they're not going to take the risk maybe because, if they thought my research was incorrect or whatever, surely they would, let me have the scan, and from their point of view, they would think, well, he won't find nothing's going to happen here, then that would be the end of the story. So if they really believe that there's not, that I've got this wrong, and they'd like to see the back of me, why don't they just let me have that scan?
I think they should.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it doesn't, and I agree with you that the truth must come out, because what if the entire theological stories that we believe are all lies? Don't we deserve the right to know the truth?
Well, that's exactly why I'm doing this, Rob. Truth is truth, and sometimes truth hurts. But, because the Rennes-le-Château mystery made a lot of sense, had a lot of evidence backing it up, it really was something that needed to be researched, and I picked up that gauntlet. I would just like to point something out. I've got so many notes in front of me, and I'm trying to squeeze a few in.
Go right ahead.
In 1995, the Dean of Lincoln Cathedral did something rather amazing. He announced to the British public press that he thought that Lincoln Cathedral was the battleground between good and evil, and he asked that the cathedral be closed for 3 months to be exorcised. Now, what was that all about? Could that have something to do with the fact that Lincoln Cathedral are a culprit hiding some secret concerning Mary Magdalene, and that the battle is to get the truth out? But what an amazing thing for the Dean of a cathedral to suddenly say to the entire British public, and that was 1995.
Now, 3 months, wouldn't it take about 3 months to exhume, fill in, and move secretly a crypt?
That's a good point. I've not actually thought of that one, Rob. That's a good point. And whilst we're on, I'm looking at another note I'd like to definitely mention.
Sure.
That in 1800, a chap called Matthew William Peters, he had been a member of the Royal Academy of Art in England, and he was famous for his paintings of, I have to say, salacious women. Now, he gave up working as an artist